Tune into your mind, feel all your emotions. It's okay to think and feel this full of your emotion. You can take your time, elevate and focus. We gonna help at Dr. Orange School of Divine Emotion. Deep breaths in, now let it all out. At Dr. Orange School, we gonna work it all out. Deep breath in, now let it all out. At Dr. Orange School, we gonna work it all out.
All right, all right, all right. Let me prepare myself. So, Dr. Ori is in a place of building with Ori Wellness. And so, I am doing a series for women centered around wellness topics that I wish someone told me before I got to a certain age or a certain experience. Um, being the teacher that I needed, in a sense, and bringing the topics that need to be talked about that are often hard to talk about, often take experience or education or wisdom, to really delve into and relate to how it feels and the emotions that can come up, you know. Um, and so Dr. Ori's School of the Mind and Emotions is here to offer that education. I would love for you guys to interact with me because I am not one that um, is a fan of really like talking to myself only. And so it would just be nice to really engage with you all as my audience. And here on YouTube, engagement is comments. So comment, let's have that conversation. I'll do my best to reply. If not, converse with each other, make this a discussion board. Let's increase our knowledge together. Be kind, be respectful. It's okay if we have a difference of opinion. So, yeah, I'm kicking off the lives with Dr. Ori, starting with the topic of taking on others' projections and the ways that we can uh, replace things, people, places that take up space in our life and make us constantly feel like we're heavy and carrying their ideas of who we are, their ideas of who we should be, the discipline or the formation of yourself in any given environment, based on what they want to produce you as, the manufacturing. So the manufacturing of yourself um, comes from that taking on those projections. You believe it, you live it, you internalize it. You have to survive that environment. You have to survive those parents that you were given, at birth or selected at birth, however you want to say it. You do have to take them on to understand what the environment is asking for. But we get to a place, right, especially in adulthood or early adulthood or early adolescence, where we have more consciousness. Our consciousness expands to not just be um, a receptacle for what we're being told, right? We're not just in this state of being obedient all the time. Like we have our own thoughts, right? 12, 13. I'm experiencing that with my preteen now. He's 12, where he has his own thoughts, he has his own desires. His ability to just obey blindly is diminishing. He got thoughts of his own. He has things he wants to do, goals, objectives, emotions, So we have to survive, but I am the teacher that wants to also come and say, in that survival, we can not kill off ourselves. We can keep ourselves, we can keep our consciousness, we can keep our thoughts separate, from the training or from the experience, enough to, when you have the power, When you have the agency to move around, you have the power to control your own destiny, whether that's financially, emotionally, transportation wise. When you have the power and you have the agency to move around, I want you to be able to use that to push forward your consciousness, push forward your thoughts about yourself, your desires for yourself, those true spirit desires, those true, like, things that excite emotion you didn't know you had, in an exciting way, also following that emotion that also tells you, like, nah, this ain't my thing. But that spirit led drive, what happens to a lot of people, and I see this right as a human being myself, as a mother of a child that, I have this observing job with. I know I could tell you a lot about him, his allergies, what he like, what he don't like, what food he eat this week, the food that he don't eat, because I have to observe his behaviors, right? And then also I work as a therapist, and so my job is to observe people's behaviors and to give them feedback about it and help them to expand their consciousness, to obey themselves, to obey their spirit, right? And make better choices about the thoughts they listen to, the emotions they listen to, what they put inside themselves. Um, and so I'm there to help them to expand that consciousness and to be okay with themselves and know that they have enough God in them, right? Intuition, and uh, they have enough God in them to make decisions for themselves. They don't have to keep, taking on others' projections of who they are. So, well, I kind of want to give an example, right? And I think this can range from something so minute as, right, you're in a store, grocery shopping, you're walking around the store. A song comes on that you like, right? You hear that, it got that nice beat, and you like, your body is automatically going to this mode, like, oh, that's my jam. But because you have your mental consciousness have been trained to be aware of other people. Are other people around? Are other people looking at me? Um, People will look at me if I do dance, right? Because nobody in here is dancing right now. You're going into analysis mode when all your body wants to do is let go. Your body want to let go, be in joy, be in wellness, be aligned. But you're in this place of disalignment, misalignment, because you're trying to fit into somebody else's image of you, right? Something as small as that, but I think the big things that really hurt. I mean, I think that's big actually. You love to dance, girl. You gotta dance. Um, so that's the big thing. That's taking somebody's actually life force energy in very small chunks. Um, and I know we talk about. So I'm kind of gonna go a different direction. I know we talk about in this social sphere. I hear a lot about narcissism and how present it is in our society, and I want to validate everybody and say it is very present in our society. We all have it, right? We all have features of narcissism. It's a part of our survival. But there are people that are really out here hurting people, and the remorse is not there. And I think that's the general um, idea that people are pointing to, right? Um, where am I going with that? Girl got lost. That happens sometimes. There is a real danger when you are in those relationships, and it does affect your mind, and it does make you have, right, these types of thoughts where you have to, the survival requires that you're aware of what you're doing because you will be blamed, you know. I don't know if that was where I was going with that, but I definitely think that's something big to key in on. Um, and I think another part of that is in terms of finding your reflection, right? So I define that as finding the people, the activities, the places that reflect back to you the way yourself, right? The way you want to see yourself, right? So when we're in a state of taking on other people's projections, oh, I'm not going to do this because of this, I'm not going to do this because of this, and we're constantly like dodging, moving, containing ourselves. Um, it doesn't feel good. We're anxious. We don't feel well, right? Versus when we're in this state of, ooh, I like that. Oh, I don't like that. And I'm going to tell you I don't like that, or I'm going to move away from this thing that I don't like. Um, those things, either way you go, are going to constantly be mirrors, right? They're going to constantly be projecting something back to you. Depends on what you want to see. So, do you want to see yourself as fill in the gaps, fill in the blank? Somebody called you lazy. Somebody called you unmotivated. Somebody called you, you know, whatever name to describe you based on their image of you. Um, in this environment, you're going to take that on. That's your reality, right? That's how you see yourself. That's how you treat yourself. Versus when you're in this environment where it's this flow of yes, no, not really, I don't like that. Oh, yes, I'll do it. I changed my mind, so no, I'm not going to do it, right? There's this flow of feel good and don't feel good that creates a balance of I'm curating the life that I want. I'm creating the relationships that I want. I'm creating space for new hobbies and activities. I'm creating space for new relationships I never even knew I needed. I'm creating space for support. I'm creating space for um, myself to have standards and not to just be accepting any old thing, right? Um, and that's important. That's the standards are important. Um, so going towards the light um, is a walk of balance. It's a walk of taking in, right, even though I created, right, these two dimensions of how people might, their style of how they internalize the world might affect their own perspective of themselves. Um, we're going to have relationships that we feel aligned with, relationships that don't feel aligned or feel like they're disturbing us. And some of those relationships are aligned with us. They feel rough and rocky, right? And that's the balance of it, is that you're going to always have a rotation of joy, sorrow, rough, happy, fear, love. That rotation is always there. And so some of those relationships that feel like they're in that toxic space are also reflections of you that you need to take in. Um, how you take that in, though, right, is the difference between internalizing and living in this fear bubble um, and internalizing it enough to know what is my environment telling me? What is the person in front of me communicating to me? What is the environment communicating to me, right? You at work, you feel like you're getting hostile treatment from multiple people. Uh, the leadership is not that great, right? Um, Maybe you have a friend or two, you guys all gossip about it and you all hate it, but it seems like they get along fine with it, right? Like, what is all of that, those dynamics of that environment communicating to you? Other than this is just miserable. And I think that's where people sometimes get stuck with the emotion, is that a difficult emotion can't move past resolution, or learning something from this, or I just hate this. There's nothing I can take from this. I just hate it. Right? I hate this temper tantrum. Um, versus being at a place and being like, this environment is saying we're dysfunctional, we're not going to change, and you can get with it or get lost. So it's communicating. What do I want to communicate back? If you stay and I'm miserable, you're communicating back that I'm willing to be miserable for a check, for my bills. I'm willing to be miserable, um, and walk around not upsetting leadership, not saying what's on my mind. I'm willing to be miserable and not tell those friends, coworkers, um, not to tell me too much gossip about XYZ, because it really pisses me off. It takes me to another level where I'm still thinking about work after I leave, right? Um, you're bending to all these little things because you believe you're going to lose something. Um, and losing something isn't always the worst thing in the world. Um, it's just that we don't know what the transition change or the next step will look like, you know? And that's where I think spiritual principles of faith come in, or um, even just reflection in terms of your own life. Um, in times you thought you didn't know what was next, you were uncertain, and some type of miracle took place, or some type of intervention happened that changed the events of what you thought your life was going to be, and brought things up for you, transitioned you up, put you in a different position. um, yeah. One thing I also want to touch on, right? I think one of these big societal struggles that people have